To be honest, I'm going to get plenty of criticism over my lifetime, and it's something that I don't completely ignore.
A USB flash drive reportedly arrived at Kensington Palace early that morning, quietly and without ceremony, yet carrying an unmistakable sense of intent. It was delivered in a plain cream envelope and placed directly on Prince William's private desk. There was no return address, no courier slip, no indication of who had brought it in or how it had passed through security unnoticed. What followed, according to sources familiar with the situation, would fundamentally change how the palace viewed the ongoing Sussex situation. The envelope contained a single black, unmarked flash drive and a handwritten note, written neatly on matching high-quality paper. Just one sentence. "You need to know what she's been planning for your children." No name, no explanation, no context. Prince William reportedly arrived at his office at 7:53 a.m., earlier than scheduled but well within character for someone accustomed to constant vigilance. His private secretary could not identify who had left the envelope, and preliminary corridor footage showed nothing unusual. Whoever placed it there appeared to have known exactly where to leave it, and when. Someone with internal awareness, if not access. William did not open the drive immediately. Following protocol, palace security was contacted and the device was scanned for malware, spyware, or any digital threat. After approximately 40 minutes, the drive was cleared. No malicious code, no breach attempt, just files, dozens of them. They were organized with clinical precision, folders labeled by dates, age ranges, and subjects. The main directory carried a title that reportedly made William pause: Media Strategy, George, 18+. Inside were documents that, according to those who later reviewed them, outlined long-term media positioning plans focused on Prince George as a future adult public figure. Not theoretical musings, but step-by-step strategies. One email draft, dated 7 months earlier and allegedly addressed to a senior editor at a major American outlet, stood out. It suggested that when George was old enough to speak publicly, he would need voices he trusts outside palace filters, and that building that trust early, even indirectly, ensures he knows alternatives exist. William reportedly reread that passage multiple times. The implication was not about criticism of palace life in general. It suggested deliberate efforts to position an external figure as a future confidant to his children, someone who could later offer platforms, validation, and narrative framing if palace tensions ever arose. A second folder carried the label, Charlotte Outreach, 1216. The approach differed in tone, but not intent. These documents allegedly framed Princess Charlotte as someone who might struggle with visibility compared to her older brother. The proposed strategy involved mentorship, narratives, advocacy alignment, and carefully curated supportive engagement designed to establish emotional trust. The stated objective, according to one document, was for Charlotte to view this outside figure as an ally and safe voice. A third folder, focused on Prince Louis, was less detailed due to his age, yet followed the same structural logic. Notes suggested he could represent a secondary access pathway should resistance occur with the older children. What disturbed William most, sources say, was not any single document, but the consistency across all of them. This was not speculation. It was a long-term framework. Another folder, titled simply Implementation Timeline, allegedly indicated that elements of this plan had already been in motion for over a year. The files referenced collaboration with a California-based public relations firm specializing in relationship cultivation for high-value individuals with restricted access. Invoices listed monitoring services, media tracking, and information extraction based on indirect sources, school networks, parental social circles, and former palace staff. According to the documents, none of the Wales children were contacted directly. Instead, information was gathered through third parties, schoolmate parents, former aides, and social acquaintances. One anonymous source, identified only as Source 7, was reportedly paid close to £40,000 over 18 months for regular updates. Even without public social media accounts, the children's movements, interests, and comments were allegedly reconstructed through layered intelligence gathering. As William continued reviewing the files, his reaction reportedly shifted from disbelief to physical unease. This was not media criticism. This was not reputational warfare. This was strategic targeting. By mid-morning, William had placed 3 calls in quick succession. First to Catherine, then to his private secretary, and finally to Princess Anne, requesting her presence within the hour. By 9:45 a.m., he had begun compiling notes, marking sections he believed required immediate action. When Catherine arrived, followed shortly by Anne, the gravity of the situation reportedly became unmistakable. Together, they reviewed materials describing the involvement of child development consultants and behavioral analysts. The language throughout was described as corporate and detached, referring to restricted access subjects, rapport-building opportunities, and influence windows. The George files were the most extensive, reflecting his status as future king. Scenarios were outlined for academic pressure, identity struggles, or public mistakes, each paired with suggested responses that positioned the external figure as understanding, supportive, and independent of palace authority. Charlotte's profile emphasized emotional validation and alignment with causes she might care about. Louis's documentation remained speculative, but followed the same logic. What reportedly unsettled Catherine most was a final folder containing psychological profiles of all three children. These documents went beyond surface observations. They outlined perceived insecurities, emotional triggers, and so-called pressure points that could be used to establish reliance on non-parental authority figures. According to those present, the room fell silent. This did not resemble concern. It resembled intelligence targeting. As the files filled the screens in William's office, the scale of what was being alleged became impossible to dismiss. Whatever the origin of the flash drive, its contents suggested a level of planning and surveillance that crossed far beyond family disagreement and into territory that William viewed as a direct threat to the children he had sworn to protect. And that, sources say, is when the response truly began. This was no longer a situation that could be managed through quiet diplomacy, discreet phone calls, or carefully worded family conversations behind closed doors. The question hanging over the room was no longer whether to act, but how far they were prepared to go. As William studied the psychological profiles of his children, written as if they were strategic subjects rather than human beings, alongside evidence of 18 months of undetected surveillance, something hardened in his resolve. In that moment, sources say, he understood that any response would have to mirror the precision and calculation of what had been done to his family. Anything measured or half-hearted would signal weakness. Anything slow would leave the space for it to resume. Protection, in this case, required decisiveness. What William did not yet realize as he absorbed the flash drive's contents was that Catherine had already been quietly assembling pieces of this puzzle weeks earlier. Her unease had not begun with documents or intelligence briefings. It started subtly, almost invisibly, in late October. Charlotte came home from school one afternoon and mentioned in passing that a classmate's mother had asked unusually specific questions about the Wales family's Christmas plans. Not the usual polite curiosity, but details. Where they would be staying, how long they would be there, who would be present, and whether the children traveled together or separately. On their own, the questions sounded harmless. But days later, George described a similar interaction at a school sports event. Another parent had casually asked about William's travel schedule, whether the family struggled during his absences, and how George felt about his father being away on official duties. Again, nothing overtly inappropriate, but the overlap was unsettling. 2 incidents within a single week triggered Catherine's instincts. The third incident removed all doubt. Catherine's personal protection officer flagged an individual who had appeared near Adelaide Cottage on 3 separate occasions over a 2-week period. Each time there was a plausible explanation: walking a dog, jogging, lingering briefly before moving on. But the repetition suggested intent rather than coincidence. A discreet background check revealed the individual was a private investigator whose professional website advertised discreet information services for high-profile clients. At that moment, Catherine's unease became alarm. Still, she did not immediately tell William. Suspicion alone was not enough. She needed facts. Verifiable, documented facts that could justify action without hesitation or regret. Acting too early, without proof, risked escalation without leverage. Instead, Catherine reached out to someone she trusted implicitly, a former MI5 officer now running a private security consultancy specializing in discreet investigations for high-net-worth families. Her instructions were precise and narrow: determine whether anyone was actively collecting information about her children, identify who was behind it, and document everything in a manner that could stand up to legal and institutional scrutiny. The investigation lasted just over 3 weeks and uncovered far more than Catherine had expected. Through contacts in private security and law enforcement circles, the investigator identified at least 5 individuals engaged in coordinated information gathering related to the Wales family, with a clear and consistent focus on the children. Surveillance activity was confirmed. What could not be fully accessed, however, was the broader strategic framework behind it. The investigator could trace the activity back to individuals associated with Meghan's professional network and confirm that intelligence was being collected and transmitted. What they could not yet prove was the long-term intent. That missing piece arrived with the flash drive. What Catherine had not yet shared with William, and was still processing herself, was a discovery made just 2 days before the envelope arrived. Communications intercepted during the investigation suggested that someone acting on behalf of Meghan's team had attempted to recruit an individual currently employed within the Wales household. The offer reportedly included substantial financial compensation in exchange for ongoing access and information. That revelation shook Catherine deeply. More disturbing still was the nature of the information already being gathered. Reports extended beyond public sightings or casual observations. They included details about the children's routines, emotional sensitivities, sibling dynamics, and moments of stress, details that should have been known only to immediate family or the most trusted staff. Those details had somehow made their way into reports sent overseas. Catherine also learned that she herself had been monitored, though clearly secondary to the children. Her parenting decisions, daily movements, and even private conversations at school or charitable events had been logged and analyzed. Anything that hinted at internal family dynamics or potential pressure points had been noted. Keeping this from William weighed heavily on her. Their marriage was built on trust, and withholding something this serious felt like a fracture in that bond. But she justified it as protection, shielding him from fear until she had evidence strong enough to demand action rather than debate. Now, watching William process the flash drive's contents, seeing anger and betrayal surface across his face, Catherine felt the full weight of having sensed danger weeks earlier. When he finally asked her directly whether she had known anything beforehand, she chose complete honesty. She told him everything. William's reaction was layered. Anger that she had carried this alone, understanding of why she had done so, and recognition that she had been building a case strong enough to justify decisive, irreversible steps. One thing became immediately clear. There was no time left to hesitate. At 10:30 a.m., William convened an emergency meeting in a secure conference room at Kensington Palace. The room was routinely swept for surveillance devices and reserved for matters requiring absolute confidentiality. William sat at the head of the table. Catherine took her place beside him. Across from them sat his private secretary, the head of palace security, senior legal counsel for the Wales family, and 2 representatives from the royal household's intelligence liaison office. William opened without diplomatic padding. "An 18-month intelligence operation has been run targeting my children," he said flatly. "This is not family conflict. It is not media strategy. Your task is to help me end it completely." The head of security reviewed the evidence. Legal counsel raised the unavoidable question of jurisdiction. Information gathering around public figures often occupies legal gray areas, particularly when U.S. entities are involved. William was prepared. He pointed to evidence of attempted recruitment of household staff. Potential bribery, payments obtained through misrepresentation could constitute fraud. Surveillance near royal residences raised serious security concerns, and strategic plans to contact his children at defined ages could be argued as interference with parental rights. "I want every legal angle identified and used," William stated. Princess Anne cut in sharply, steering the discussion towards strategy rather than process. The question was no longer simply defense, but deterrence. Was the goal to stop this activity, or to ensure it could never happen again? William did not hesitate. "The priority is my children, but there must be consequences severe enough that no one ever considers this again." Catherine immediately raised a critical concern: the children themselves. They needed awareness, not fear. Enough information to report unusual contact without being burdened by anxiety. As the private secretary outlined the constitutional implications, informing the king, briefing the prime minister, coordinating with intelligence services, William's position hardened further. "My father will be informed today. The prime minister tonight," he said. "As for reconciliation with Harry, there is none." His tone left no room for negotiation. The following hours were consumed by an aggressive multi-track action plan. Legal filings were drafted, cease and desist orders prepared, restraining measures outlined to block any form of contact with the children through intermediaries or third parties. Civil action for invasion of privacy and emotional distress was placed on standby. Simultaneously, palace security initiated a full counterintelligence sweep. Individuals named in the documents would be interviewed. Household staff implicated would be terminated without exception. Intelligence liaisons contacted MI5 to assess whether national security considerations applied. Throughout it all, Catherine focused on the family, planning age-appropriate conversations with George, Charlotte, and Louis, ensuring they understood how to recognize and report inappropriate approaches without fear. As the meeting drew toward its end, one truth was unavoidable. "Your father will struggle with this," Princess Anne said plainly. "He will want to believe there's been some misunderstanding. She explained that she could present the facts clearly, without emotion, nostalgia, or old family loyalties clouding judgment. Anne's reputation for blunt honesty and zero tolerance for manipulation made her the ideal messenger. William accepted her offer with visible relief. He knew that if anyone could make King Charles grasp the severity of the situation without softening the truth, it was her. The final and most delicate part of the plan focused on Harry. William would not call him. There would be no emotional conversation, no opportunity for denial, gaslighting, or damage control. Instead, a formal letter would be delivered strictly through legal channels, ensuring documentation clarity and zero room for reinterpretation. The letter would lay out everything that had been uncovered, the evidence, the timelines, the planning, Meghan's alleged operations. And then it would present Harry with a choice so clear it could not be avoided. No dodging, no spinning, no emotional bargaining, just facts. By 1:45 p.m., the War Room had finalized a comprehensive strategy set to activate within hours. Legal filings would be submitted before the close of business in California, where courts were still open due to the time difference. Security interviews in the UK would begin immediately. Formal notification to Meghan would be delivered by 5 p.m. London time, landing directly in her California morning and leaving her virtually no time to organize a response. The legal offensive began without hesitation. By 3:30 p.m., William's legal team had completed documents that would dramatically alter the Sussex situation and place Meghan in serious legal jeopardy, consequences she never saw coming. The strategy was multi-pronged, designed to strike from several directions at once. The objective was immediate shutdown, long-term deterrence, and permanent precedent. The first filing hit the California Superior Court at 8:40 a.m. Pacific Time. It was a civil complaint alleging invasion of privacy, intentional infliction of emotional distress, conspiracy, and unlawful surveillance. What made it especially devastating was its public nature. In California, civil complaints are public record. Within hours, journalists and members of the public could access it with a simple court search. William's legal team knew exactly what they were doing. The complaint was drafted with the full expectation it would become public, ensuring every allegation was legally airtight and reputationally catastrophic. The second filing, submitted to the UK High Court at 3:45 p.m. London time, sought a sweeping injunction preventing Meghan, her agents, or anyone acting on her behalf from gathering information about George, Charlotte, or Louis in any form. It prohibited all direct or indirect contact and banned the use of any previously collected information for any purpose, including media projects. The filing also included data protection applications demanding that all improperly obtained material be surrendered and permanently destroyed. Both filings were supported by extensive evidence from the flash drive, authenticated by independent forensic digital analysts who confirmed its integrity beyond dispute. The third strike was even more aggressive. William's lawyers filed a formal complaint with the California State Bar against attorneys advising Meghan's operation. Cease and desist letters were delivered by courier and email to 17 individuals and entities named in the documents. Each letter demanded immediate cessation of activities, destruction of all collected data, and written confirmation within 72 hours. Failure to comply would trigger individual legal action. The California PR firm named in the documents faced special scrutiny. They received a 30-page cease and desist letter detailing their documented role. Their response was immediate. Within 2 hours, their attorney requested an emergency call. On that call, the firm claimed that they had only provided general PR services and denied knowledge of any targeting of William's children. William's team was ready for that defense. They offered a structured deal. The firm would terminate its contract immediately, hand over all documentation, return advance payments, and cooperate fully. In exchange, their cooperation would be formally noted. The deal delivered something crucial: a motivated witness. As London evening settled in and California morning unfolded, the legal machine was already producing results. Filings were processed. Letters were received. Panic was spreading somewhere in Montecito. Harry's reckoning arrived at 11:20 a.m. California time. A process server delivered a legal envelope to the Montecito property. Expecting routine paperwork, Harry opened it and instead found a document that would change everything. Written in precise legal language, it laid out the findings in brutal detail. 18 months of systematic surveillance, strategic planning documents, evidence of intent to target George, Charlotte, and Louis. Infrastructure built for long-term influence and exploitation. The letter detailed the legal actions already launched across multiple jurisdictions. According to someone who spoke to Harry later, his first reaction was disbelief. That disbelief cracked as he reviewed the exhibits, documents pulled directly from the flash drive, including Meghan's own communications. Recognition set in. Harry had seen her cultivate media relationships before. He had defended it, rationalized it. But he had never imagined that same strategy aimed at his brother's children. The letter gave him 72 hours to respond. Option 1. Acknowledge Meghan's conduct as unacceptable. Confirm he had no knowledge and cooperate fully. Option 2. Provide evidence that he knew and attempted to stop it, effectively becoming a witness against his wife. Option 3. Defend Meghan or remain silent, triggering permanent family separation, loss of royal privileges, and potential criminal exposure if further evidence emerged. The letter made one thing unmistakably clear. William was not seeking conversation, mediation, or reconciliation. This was a legal ultimatum. Sharp, precise, final. Harry's response would be formally documented and preserved for legal proceedings. It would permanently determine his relationship with the family he came from. There would be no walking it back later, no reinterpretation, no soft landing. There was no fourth option, no neutral ground, no way to remain uninvolved. Option 1 was nearly impossible. Acknowledging Meghan's conduct would mean ending the marriage or creating a rupture so deep it could never be repaired. Divorce would be almost inevitable, and his relationship with his own children could become entangled in long-term legal conflict. Option 3 was equally devastating. Standing by Meghan, or remaining silent, would mean total and permanent estrangement from his British family. His children would grow up without relationships with their cousins, their grandfather, their aunt, or their uncle. Option 2 existed only on paper. Becoming a witness would destroy the marriage and offered no guarantee of reconciliation with his family. William's letter promised nothing in return for cooperation. It outlined only the consequences of refusal. The 72-hour deadline was deliberate. It prevented delay. It blocked coordination. It forced a real decision. Meghan's reaction when Harry showed her the letter was explosive. She claimed the flash drive was stolen. She alleged fabrication. She framed the legal action as a vendetta by a family that had never accepted her. But her arguments collapsed under one immovable fact. The documents contained her own words. Harry now faced a crisis far deeper than legal exposure. He had to confront the possibility that he had married someone capable of treating children, including his own nieces and nephews, as strategic assets. By the morning of December 6th, 48 hours into the deadline, Harry reportedly contacted his own lawyer, separate from Meghan's legal team. That move alone spoke volumes. Whether he would submit a response meeting William's conditions remained unclear. What was clear was this: Harry could no longer exist in both worlds. He could not stay married to Meghan and remain part of the family she had targeted. The tragedy was undeniable. Once, they were brothers. Now, there were legal ultimatums, documented betrayals, and no clean escape. Harry could choose Meghan, or he could choose his family. What he could no longer choose was the illusion that he could keep both. That illusion died the moment William opened an anonymous envelope and saw what had been planned for his children. If you found this breakdown eye-opening and want more behind-the-scenes analysis, make sure to like, subscribe, and share this video. Drop your thoughts in the comments below and stay tuned, because this story is far from over.